questions 21 to 25 of the 1998 Grade 8 Gauss Math Contest is what I will discuss in this video. The number 315 can be written as the product of two odd integers, each greater than 1. In how many ways can this be done? So 315 can be written as the product of two odd integers like that, where a and b are odd and a and b are also greater than 1. And that's all the question gives us in terms of information. So the first thing we have to do in this question is break 315 into its prime factors. So 3 times 105, I'm just doing this in my head, and then 105 breaks into 3 times 35, and then 35 breaks into 5 and 7. So there you go. These are the prime factors of 315. So we have to work with this to come up with two odd numbers that when multiplied will equal 315. Well, let's go with the obvious ones. Let's try 3 and then these together. 3 times 5 times 7, which would be 105. 3 times 105 indeed meets this requirement. Both are odd and both are greater than 1. So that's one possible way of doing this. Another way would be to just look at the 5. 5 and then the other three numbers can be multiplied together. That would be 3 times 3 times 7, which is 63. Is this a way to satisfy this requirement? And the answer is yes, because both of these are odd and both of them are greater than 1. Let's keep going here. Let's try the 7. If we try the 7, we're going to get 7 times the rest, which is 3 times 3 times 5, which is 9 times 5, which is 45. And this is also meets the criteria. So far, we're up to 3, so we've gotten rid of choices A and B. What else can we do? Can we do any more? And I think we can. If we combine these two, we'll get 9. And then if we combine these two, we'll get 35. And that also is a choice. So we're up to 4, so we can get rid of that one. And if we can get one more, then we got the answer. And I think we can. Let's take a look here. If you do 3 and 5, that would give you 15. And then 3 and 7 would be 21. And that is a possibility. So we got 5. So that means the answer is E. A cube measures 10 by 10 by 10. 3 cuts are made parallel to the faces of the cube as shown, creating 8 separate solids, which are then separated. What is the increase in the total surface area? So first what I will do is just draw a cube. Okay, so that's our cube. And then what they've done is they've made these parallel cuts. But before I get into that, I'm just going to calculate the surface area of this initial cube. So how do we figure out the surface area? Well, surface area is basically the area of the faces, and any cube has 6 faces. And the surface area of one face is just the area of a square. So they've told us that this is a 10 by 10 by 10 cube. So therefore, the area of each face is 10 times 10. So therefore, the total surface area is 100 times 6, or 600, for this initial cube. Then what they've done is they've created these cuts. So they have taken this cube and cut it up as such into 8 different smaller pieces like that. And they're going to separate them, and then they're going to say, what is the surface area of those 8 separate solids? Well, let's just look at one of them. It's going to be sort of like this. And this question doesn't really give us a lot of hardcore information as to where these cuts are being made. But because it's an elementary school contest, I'm assuming that they want us to assume that they're made halfway. Because if you notice, if you read the question, it doesn't tell us where along this edge this cut has been made. But based on the way this diagram looks and the fact that it's from a grade 8 contest, I'm assuming that the cuts are made halfway. And if that's the case, if this was 10, this is 5, this is 5, this is 5, this is 5, and this is 5, like that. So these smaller pieces all have 5 as their sides. So the surface area of this would just be 6 times the area of one side, which is 5 times 5. So that means 6 times 25, or 150. But remember, there's 8 of them. The question tells you that there's 8. So the total surface area is going to be 8 times 150, or 1200, like that. So then what they're asking for is, what is the increase in total surface area as you go from here to here? And we've gone from 600 to 1200, and therefore the increase looks like an increase of 600, and therefore the answer is D. If the sides of a triangle have lengths 30, 40, and 50, what is the length of the shortest altitude? So let's draw a triangle. And immediately, you probably already noticed that if it's a 30, 40, 50 triangle, then it's a right triangle. So if this is 30, and this is 40, and this is 50, this is a right triangle. And we want to find the shortest altitude. Well, this is an altitude, so we have 30 as a possible altitude, and this is an altitude, so we have 40 as a possible altitude. The other altitude, of course, is right here. If we drop a perpendicular from the corner down to here, that is also an altitude, and we'll call that h. And we want to see if h is indeed smaller than 30 or 40, and it probably is, but we need to figure out what is the length of h. So let's call this x, and therefore this is going to be 50 minus x. And you can probably see 2 Pythagorean Theorem relationships in this triangle here and this triangle here. So the first relationship is h squared plus x squared is equal to 30 squared. So that's pretty straightforward. The next one is 50 minus x squared plus h squared is 40 squared, like that. So I'm going to combine them. I'm going to subtract this one from that one. So that would give me, on this side, 40 squared minus 30 squared. And on this side, we will have 50 minus x squared plus h squared minus this part, h squared minus x squared. So we will need to expand this. 2,500 plus 100x. The h's cancel, and then this becomes x squared minus x squared. So these cancel, and this is 1,600 minus 900. So we've got 2,500 minus 100x is equal to 700. Bring the 100x over to the other side, and we've got 1,800, and therefore x is equal to 18. So this is 18. Now we need to figure out h. So how do we figure out h? Well, we can use Pythagorean Theorem on this triangle. So we have h squared plus 18 squared is equal to 30 squared, right? H, 18, and 30 were the sides of that right triangle. So we've got h squared is equal to 900 minus 324. H squared is equal to 576. Therefore, h is the root of 576, and h is 24. So therefore, the answer is B. A circle is inscribed in trapezoid PQRS. PS and QR are 25. And PQ is 18. And SR is 32. What is the length of the diameter of the circle? So first step is to draw this out a little bit bigger. So here's our diagram, and we will label what they have given us: 18, 25, 25, and 32. Now the key to this is to draw perpendiculars from these corners down to here, like that. And if you do that, you will notice that this part is now 18, because it's the same as the top, and these are perpendicular. And therefore, we can then figure out what this is. These are going to be the same. You're going to have to take 32 and subtract from it 18, which is 14. And then each of these will be half of that. So 14 over 2, which is 7. So that's 7 and that's 7. Now, therefore, this has become a right triangle, right? Because this is a perpendicular that we drew. This is a perpendicular. And if this is 7 and that's 25, this is something we can figure out. And we'll call it D. Why? Because it represents the diameter of the circle. The diameter of the circle, if this is the center, is essentially just a straight line like that. But this line is also a perpendicular, so it's the same as the diameter. So we'll just use the Pythagorean theorem on this triangle. So we've got 7 squared plus d squared is equal to 25 squared. So d squared equals 625 minus 49, and d squared is equal to 576, and therefore d is the square root of 576, which is 24. So the answer is C. A sum of money is to be divided among Alan, Bill, and Carol. Alan receives $1 plus 1/3 of what is left. Bill then receives $6 plus 1/3 of what remains. Carol receives the rest, which is $40. How much did Bill receive? So there's a few ways of doing this. The first way, of course, is by saying that the sum of money is equal to X, and then kind of going from there. So you've got X minus 1, because Alan receives $1, and then X minus 1 divided by 3 is how much he receives after that, and so on. And that can be done, but it becomes very confusing very quickly. A much better way is to just put a number out there and work with the number, and it will be much clearer. So let's do it that way. So the first thing I notice with this question is that once Alan receives $1, he's going to receive 1/3 of what is left. So it makes sense that we choose a number that's divisible by 3. It doesn't have to be, but it will help us. because we're ending up with a whole number. So I'm thinking that we started with a whole number. So after Alan receives his dollar, the number should be divisible by 3. So that number I'm going to say is 90. This is just to kind of help you understand this question. So initially, we started with a sum of, say, 91. So I'll go through this very carefully so you can understand it. Initially, the sum is 91. Alan, put Alan over here, he gets $1. All right? After he gets the $1, we have $90 remaining. Then he gets 1/3 of what is left. So he gets 1/3 of 90, which is $30. So that is Alan. He gets initially $1 and then $30. So Alan gets a total of $31. Now after Alan gets his 30, how much is left? 60. Okay? Now Bill comes into the picture, and he initially gets $6. Right? Bill receives $6. Then after he gets his $6, how much is left? 54. And then he gets 1/3 of that. So 1/3 of 54 is 18, I believe. So Bill gets 6 plus 18, which is $24. And then what's left? Well, we had 54. We gave Bill 18. So what's left is 36. And 36 is what Carol gets. Okay? This is just a scenario to help you understand the question. This is not the proper or correct numbers of the question, because the question says that Carol ends up with 40. But this is how the money is distributed. So now let's go through this again, but this time we will use another number. And I'm going to go higher because this number needs to be a little bit higher. All right? So we're going to start with 100 instead of 91. So let's say the sum of money at the very beginning is 100. Okay? So first we have $100, and Alan receives $1, as the question states. And then you have $99 left. He then receives 1/3 of what is left. So 1/3 of 99 is 33. So Alan first gets $1, and then he gets 33, so he gets $34. All right, we're done with Alan. Now how much money is remaining? Well, we had 99, we gave 33 to Alan, so we have $66 remaining. Then Bill comes into the picture, and we first give him $6. So $6 there. Then after you give him $6, how much is left? 60. And then he gets 1/3 of what remains. So he gets 1/3 of 60, which is 20. So Bill got $6, then $20, so Bill got $26. Now what remains? Well, we had 60, we gave 20 to Bill, so 40 remains, and that goes to Carol. And that's exactly what the question tells us, that Carol receives $40. So how much did Bill receive? He received 26. So the answer to this question is A.